Ready?
Okay.
Hey everyone, Michael Bray here. Welcome to the Kayak City Kayak Theater here at ISE 2026. Welcome everyone for coming out here. Today I'm going to be doing two seminars mixed into one. So yesterday I talked about kayak fishing without a graph. So simple, very effective techniques that you can use if you're either a budget angler, just a weekend angler, or someone that doesn't want to be divulged in their electronics all day long on the water. I'm also going to be talking about the types of opportunities that are available for a kayak angler that wants to fish at the collegiate level. I coach the Simpson University bass fishing team in Redding, California. Currently we're ranked 39th in the nation, and we're looking to expand a little bit. There's a lot of collegiate angling opportunities for the average kayak angler and young angler that wants to get involved but may not be able to afford a boat. Some of these opportunities are back east tournament trails from the Bass Nation Kayak Series and Collegiate Series. But also on the local level, there's a lot of kayak divisions from Yakka Bass to the tournament series that I run, Bass Angler Magazine Kayak Series, where we can get the next generation involved for a very economical rate. And if you're fishing through a collegiate program, you can get those entries and costs associated with the tournament covered. So Simpson University is a funded private Christian college in Redding, California. It's a four-year degree, four-year college as well, so that means you're going to come out of it with a bachelor's degree and an advanced degree that can help you get to the next level or stage in life that you want to go down. We have numerous different degrees on campus. We're one of the top 20 programs in the nation for nursing. We have business, communications, everything that you can think of that could get you to that next level. For if you want to advance as an angler in the industry, or if you want to advance in a different portion in life and angling is just a hobby. So being an avid kayak angler, there's a lot of opportunities out east as well. You don't have to be conditioned to California. You can put these same strategies in place if you're looking to build a degree to go fish back east as well. And a lot of it is all based on consistency. The average individual in this generation, they have a hard time being consistent and being devoted to something that they want to accomplish. As a collegiate angler, you do have to have that ambition to be and drive to push forward, to do well, to be motivated as an individual. And that goes for being successful on the water as well. When you want to be motivated, and be a kayak angler and do different competitions and tournament environments, if you're not going to put forth the full effort to do well, generally you're not going to see those results that come along with that effort that you exert. So one step to start and be successful with this is building a resume, and that's very easy to do. If you're fishing tournaments on a regular basis, if you're being an advocate for the outdoors, if you're working on building your own relationships and you're doing so through your academic setting or through different companies and businesses, those are very important skills and assets that you can use to be successful in college and to get opportunities to fish in college. When I'm looking at different recruits, not only am I looking at their GPA, but I'm looking at the different tasks that they've done. I'm looking at the different ambitions that they want to do and the things that they can do well and bring to the program. So you may not have a $70,000 bass boat and you may just be fishing out of a kayak, or you may not even have a kayak and you're just fishing down off the bank right now. There are still opportunities for you. You may not have a boat, but you may be able to build a social media platform. You may be able to create high quality content that a program like ours can use to get different partners and keep different relationships down the road. And those are very key factors as well. Building social media is an extremely important tool in today's angling economy. If you're looking for sponsorships, if you want to be a professional angler, you have to know how to represent yourself behind the camera and behind the phone screen. If you're not staying relevant in today's day and age, there are a lot of people that are outworking you and that are doing that and that are doing the jobs that you don't want to do, whether that's going to work at trade shows, whether that's trying to build those connectionships and relationships that are going to get you further in life. Everyone wants to be a professional sponsored angler, but not very many people want to put the work in to get there. you can't just start your social media the same day and look for a 70% off on your favorite brand. You can't reach out to companies without having those deliverables to offer them, because it is a mutually beneficial relationship. And that's what a lot of people don't realize and don't focus on when they're trying to get those partnerships. It's all about what they can do for you. What can that company do for me? They should want me on their pro staff because I'm buying their equipment, I'm representing them, I'm going to show all these people. But if you don't have those stats to back it up, then you're really not giving them that much of a deliverable asset. If you're being a consistent angler, you may not have to have the largest following in the world, but if you're still slowly gaining followers and you're creating real content that people can connect with, that's going to get you a whole lot further, and it's going to get you more opportunities. Putting yourself out there on social media, you may have someone like your post that has different things that they can bring to you and to make you more successful as well. You may make connections over social media, and you may also get yourself in positions to where you can make connections on the ground level. Putting yourself at shows like the ISE show and going around and talking to these booths and companies, but not asking for free stuff, asking for advice, asking for questions, asking how you can grow yourself to then grow other companies. And again, grow to the college level as well. So all of this that I'm talking about is not just college fishing, it's not just trying to get sponsorships. It all works together as a set of assets that you should have as an angler to become successful in different steps in life. So that's what this is meant for. It's not about trying to get a giant scholarship from your college program, but it's about putting you in a position to where you can ask for a scholarship and bring something to the table to forward your education, or ask for a partnership and maybe get a little more of an advanced level than a 30% discount, because there's a lot of companies that will bring you on expecting you to under-deliver and fail. But if you want a company and a relationship that's going to last to work with you, you have to be able to work with them and bring something to them as well. There's a lot of people in this industry, even at that higher end level, that are not willing to put in the work to keep and maintain those relationships. They'll get a deal, and then 2 years down the road, that deal's gone and they're off to another company for either the same or less, and they're not maintaining one gradual relationship to grow and build. They're not staying after the show to help the sales reps clean up the booth. They're not helping sell product when they are in the booth. They're wandering around looking for their next big steal or their next deal that they can get their hands on. But if you're passionate about a product, you're passionate about a brand, and you're passionate about what you can bring to another person, you're going to get so much further in life. So now let's talk about my second part of the presentation as well today. Like I said, I wanted to cover some of the same assets that I talked about yesterday, trying to get that average angler that may not have those ambitions to get to the professional level, that may have heard the first part of this presentation, and it may not be for them, but they still want to get out and fish. They may not have live scope and the high-end electronics, and maybe not even have a motor on their kayak. It may be a paddle kayak. When I started, I was in a Lifetime Tamarack, $250 at your local Walmart. And it got me in my first tournament. Now I'm running a Native Slayer Max 10 a few years down the line. Still fishing tournaments here and there, but being able to be an influencer and part of the industry that is able to expose and bring the next generation into fishing. So when you're wanting to get out on the water, I'm going to start about this time of year, kind of work my way through spring, summer, fall, and then back into the winter season. So starting off right now, it's winter, it's cold outside, it's January. You're probably wearing a couple layers if you're going out to your local lake. You definitely have to have your life jacket with you to make sure that if something did happen in your kayak, you fell in, you're able to get to safety, and you're able to make sure that you're in a good position. A lot of people also wear wetsuits for this, or dry suits or wetsuits for this time of year. Dry suits are very beneficial. They are costly, but they will save lives. But going into kayak fishing in the winter, if you don't have a graph, you're not going to be seeing those fish that are chasing bait, that are suspended off points. You're going to be looking for a lot for topography and different landscapes that you can associate to fish. So if you're out at Lake Shasta right now, you're going to be looking for those main lake points. You're going to be looking for fish busting right now on bait. or you're going to be starting up shallow and working your way deeper. There are fish shallow year-round, and especially on different fisheries like Lake Shasta, the motherlode lakes. Big fish always roam up shallow looking for an easy meal. And there are oftentimes bigger fish caught up shallow in the winter months and the guys fishing in 40 to 60 feet of water. There's one technique that I really like when you're searching different levels or starting your day. You can fish very shallow very easily, and you can very easily fish deeper as well with the Nico rig. Generally I use a Yamamoto Senko. This is a Daiwa Senko instead, so it's still a 5-inch Senko, but it's got that bulbous tail on it. It's a very effective technique if you're wanting to do wintertime fishing up shallow. The Nico rig is very similar to the Wacky rig. The only difference is a nail weight that's put in it. These nail weights can differ from a 1/16 ounce to 1/8 ounce to 3/16, whatever you're looking for. But they're very easy, very efficient. Just get that Wacky rig Senko. You can use the new P-Line Whack-'em O-ring tool. Very easy to put your Senko inside that little tube. Put a O-ring down the middle. Grab that Nico rig weight. Put it right in the end right there. And now you can fish this bait up shallow in 3 feet of water, up to 10 feet of water. Or you can put a bigger one in, fish it in 25 foot of water, see if those fish are in that other level. And this bait is very effective at being a good worm representation, but this is a natural shad color. I'll talk about colors in a second. But the way it falls through the water can trigger a reaction bite for a suspended bait fish. It could be, when it gets to the bottom, it could be a craw presentation. There's a lot of different options with this. When I'm picking colors, I'm very simple and very straightforward. There's no reason to get fancy. The fish aren't looking for a sparkly crawdad. They're looking for a meal. They're not looking for the shiniest shad in the lake. They're looking for something that's natural, because big fish get big by being smart. If they were big and dumb, everyone would be catching 5 to 10 pound fish, but they're not. They're smart fish, they're predatory fish, and they're looking for something that's not going to be dangerous to them. So I use green pumpkin, very simple, very straightforward. Natural shad, a very straightforward color as well. Like I said, it could be a great shad presentation. And then I generally use a color like cinnamon that's a little bit of a brighter brown color that can be representative of a crawfish as well. Another very important factor when you're picking the size of your bait, if you're looking to find those bigger fish, you want to weed out the smaller ones. At a place like Lake Shasta, you can catch 30 to 60 fish a day, but if half of them are under a pound, then they're not really the targets for a lot of people. This 5-inch Senko is a very good bait to catch larger fish, 2.5, 3 pound fish that you want in your bag in a tournament. But it's also a very good bait when you're looking for fish that are still a pound, half a pound, just trying to catch numbers. If you want to weed them out even more, upsize a little bit to the 6-inch Senko. This guy's a little bit heavier. If you put a weight in it, it'll drop even faster, so if you're fishing deeper water. But in deeper water, I also like the 5-inch Senko as well, just because it drops down and it doesn't have as much of a catch when it's going through the water. So that's the Nico rig Senko. It's a very effective technique for fishing up shallow, searching deeper water, and seeing where the fish are at, because all it takes is a little bit of an O-ring, a nail weight, and a good quality Yamamoto Senko. The next technique also for winter time is going to be the spinner bait. This is a very effective technique as well. This is just a half-ounce T&M spinner bait. Very effective, very affordable. I think it's $10.99. But this is also a great bait for fishing up shallow. What's so nice about this bait is it is a shad representation, it's a bait fish representation, and it's a bait that you can cover a lot of water with. So if you don't have a graph, you don't see those fish, you can throw this up creek channels coming in. You can add a high-tech swing impact to it as well as a trailer. And I put a trailer on all of my spinner baits unless I'm smallmouth fishing. And this is because it gives those fish a point of contact. They see that flashy bling and it brings them in, but then when they see that Kitech on there in the back, they see something to target and they go for that bait, they inhale it, you get a fish in the boat. So generally this is a 4-3 Kitech. You can use a 3/8 or a 3-3 if you're wanting a smaller presentation, wanting smallmouth spotted bass. A lot of the times with spotted bass is the smaller ones are going to nip that tail and they never actually get the hook. So a smaller concise trailer can still do that same thing where they see that flash, they come to it, they're attracted by it, then they see that bait and they eat it nice and easily, very quickly. I generally throw all of my bait caster baits with 12 to 15 pound P-line tactical. If you're on a budget, the tactical's not in it for you. The fluoro clear will also work very well. But yeah, 15 pound on there, you'll be good to go. And this can also be worked in very multiple different depths. If you're at the edge of a point casting up, you can just slow down your retrieve, it'll get lower in the water column, you'll be good to go. One technique that a lot of people do not talk about anymore, but that was very popular back in the day, is another technique that you use a bait caster for. Generally, I use it on 12 pound line, but it's a jig, and a football head jig for that matter. But a lot of them you're going to be using a double tail trailer. I like to use a Yamamoto hula grub. So this is a very effective bait that a lot of people do not know about. What's really nice about this bait is it's weedlet, or it doesn't have a weed guard on it, so it's very easy for the smallmouth spotted bass, largemouth to inhale. They don't feel any tension on it, and you can get that fish to bite your bait and get it in the boat. So this is a very nice, very easy bait to use and learn if you don't have a graph, because it drops to the bottom. It's a crawdad presentation. You can fish this bait up in 10 to 15 foot of water, but you can also fish it in 60 foot of water if you want to. There's a lot of times a year during the fall that these fish are going to be, fall and winter, that they're going to be out at the very end of the main lake points over rocky humps, whatever it may be, and they're in that deeper water. You can never fish too deep in the winter either. So always start up shallow, but if they're not shallow, try and go a little deeper. Everyone stays up in the top 25 feet, and they don't really expand and look in the 30, 40, 50, 60 foot range because they think it's too deep. I've known anglers that have caught fish in 80 foot of water in one tournament, catching 3 and 4 pounders out of deeper water. And when you're looking for those elusive 10-pound fish, they may be in that deeper water as well because they don't get as much pressure, they're not targeted as much, and they're elusive for a reason. But it's a very effective technique, the 5-inch Yamamoto hula grub. The same colors and presentation applies, but also because it is weedless, it is very important to fish it correctly. So when you're fishing this, one technique that a lot of kayak anglers don't know about is dragging. That means it's a really windy day out, you're not able to stay in position, there's a point you want to fish and you're just getting blown all over the place. This bait is staying on the bottom, making bottom contact as a crawl presentation. There's crawls in pretty much every lake around the nation. It's always effective. But it's also very easy to snag it up without that weed guard on it. So if you're keeping your rod tip close to the water flat, and you're fishing in less than 20 foot of water, you're probably going to go through a lot of those baits. If you keep that rod tip up a little higher, you're going to be bouncing that bait through rocks and through the different features of the bottom, and you have a lot less likelihood of getting snagged and getting frustrated. So it's a very effective technique, but again, you have to have that rod at the right angle, or you will struggle. Going off of the dragging technique is my next bait that I'm going to talk about today. That doesn't get talked about very much in this generation. Another old school bait that is an extremely, extremely effective bait, and that is the tube. This is a double dipped dry creek tube. I use both the Bass Menu football head for the hula grubs and the Bass Menu dart head as well. So Phil's Propeller and Redding sells both of those. You can order them online as well. But any dart head, any football head will work. But the tube, it's a very concise presentation. A lot of co-anglers and pro-ams use this. And a lot of anglers that, again, if you're dragging or you're getting moved, this is a great presentation to stay on the bottom, and you can use a lot lighter line with it in a spinning rod. It's also very nice because it mimics a lot of different types of wildlife as well. So it can be a crawdad, it can be a bait fish, it can be a goby. Again, the color coordinating can work with that as well. But it's a very good bait because once you get down to 30 to 60 feet, they aren't really looking at color, they're looking at shape anyway. So using this on a spinning rod, lighter line, you get a lot more feel with it on a lot of opportunities that you would miss throwing that big heavy jig that really stirs up and messes with the bottom. This bait's kind of gliding down there. With the darter head, it also circles down instead of dropping straight down or a pendulum. So it circles down, again, getting those bites that you may miss without it. Another thing with the Nico Rig Senko that I'll talk about going into the spring transition is it's very good for bed fishing. This bait goes straight down where you cast it to, and it'll sit on that bed, just right in that fish's face, getting it ready and aggressive and ready to react. When you're bed fishing, you want to have a bait that you can trust is going to stay there, is going to be visible, and is going to have enough of a reaction that it doesn't scare the fish away, but it brings the fish into biting that bait and moving it off of its bed. If you have a big old heavy jig and you're dropping that thing through a 2-foot bed, you're probably going to disrupt it a little too much. It's going to get real finicky. This jig will be effective, but it's not nearly as effective as the Nico Rig Senko. And it works on the Delta, it works in ponds, it works for largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass. I caught 5-pound spotted bass on a secret lake up in Redding, California. So if you go to Simpson and fish on the college team, I'll tell you about that little spot. But this is a very good bait that you can use in deeper water as well. So I was catching fish on 15 feet deep on beds, and I could see them right underneath me. The deeper the fish are on a bed, the easier they are to catch normally if you can get your presentation where it needs to be. With the drop shot, your bait's suspended a little bit. It still works, but it's a little harder to focus and utilize. With the jig, it works, and with the tube, that circling motion makes it very hard to keep it where it needs to be. But a tube, if it's shallow water, a white tube will do the job or trick as well. Going into spring as well, the chatterbait. This is a very underutilized technique because a lot of people are scared of it. I know I used to hear a chatterbait and I never used one because I didn't think I had the right equipment. I didn't think it worked as well as a spinnerbait. It just wasn't for me. And then I met some guys that kicked my butt time and time again, and that's what they were using. The way you use it is also very important. Generally, I have a 1/2 ounce and a 3/8 tied on at all times when I'm fishing in an environment that has the right structure, it has the right brush, the right recipe for disaster. If you're fishing it in open water, it will be successful, but it won't be as successful as bumping it off rocks, bumping it through brush, through tulies, whatever the case may be. One tip that you can use with the chatterbait though is the retrieve. Some people will even fish it like a jig almost, but I like to just do a straight consistent retrieve at the depth and level that I know the fish are at. The Yamamoto Seiko is a very popular tactic, but also the Yamamoto Spark Shad is a great trailer for it as well. One trailer that a lot of people don't really look at though is a D-bomb, the Missile Baits D-bomb, or a beaver style trailer. And this is a very nice trailer because not only can it be a crawfish presentation, but it also looks just like a sunfish. I'm just using rod and tomato color, but you can use black and blue if it's muddy conditions or whatever the conditions may call for. And you don't put the bait on like a traditional flipping bait. You put it on sideways, that way it has that better action in the water. And the reason I like this better than the Seiko and some of the other spark shads and so forth is because when I'm fishing it through the water, it doesn't really affect my bait too much compared to some of those more bulky, heavier trailers. This one's very nice and easy. It flows through the water. It doesn't mess up my presentation. It keeps me in the zone. Everyone has different presentations, and there's a lot of different chatterbaits you can use. This one is the Copperhead by First Gen Fishing. It's a very effective bladed jig. It's also the loudest vibrating jig on the market. Very effective, you should give it a try. Another one from my friends over at Evergreen, everyone knows it, the chatterbait, the jackhammer. The jackhammer is another very effective bait. It's also 20 bucks a pop, so if you can go with that first gen fishing, you're on a budget. This is a very affordable bait. I think it's $10.99 at the show right now. So go get yourself a few. They have the large version and they also have the mini. And now that that patent on the jackhammer is gone, they are direct connect, meaning they work even better in the water. So chatterbaits are very effective, but the last bait I'm going to, or the last two baits I'm going to go over, one of them is a topwater bait. This is a very effective bait if you don't want to stare at electronics all day, or if you want to look at your graph and watch that fish come up and smoke it. I either use a walking bait, but 90% of the time, if I'm throwing a topwater bait on open water, it's going to be the Berkeley Chopo or some sort of prop bait that's going across the water. I really like the Chopo one because of the colors, but also just because it's a little bit smoother of a chop going through that water, and it works very well in rough conditions as well. You can pretty much surf it over waves and it will get big bites if the fish are in a frenzy. One thing that a lot of people mess up on when they're throwing topwaters is they cast from out in deeper water up shallow. That eliminates the time your bait is in the strike zone tremendously, especially when the fish are up shallow. If they're out deep chasing bait in 20 to 30 foot of water, that's fine. You can cast out from the bank out to where you're at in your kayak. But I like to line myself up parallel and run this bait down the bank, casting as far as I can, bombing it across, seeing where those fish are going to set up. If there's a log out in the water and I know that there's probably a fish on it, running it right by that log, keeping it in that shallower water in the strike zone as long as I can. And that's because if your bait's not in front of the fish, they're not going to bite it. And if those fish, a lot of those bigger largemouth, are going to be up shallow, you want that bait to go right next to them, right in front of them, really make them angry, give them something to follow and give them something to eat. But again, there's that flip side to that. If those fish are out deeper, you can still fish off the end of points in and be very successful. There are fish that I've seen go from 15 to 25 foot of water. They'll surge up, eat your bait, and they will attack it very aggressively, especially on these spotted bass fisheries. In the Motherlode region in Lake Shasta, I've caught fish over 60 to 100 foot of water throwing a topwater, so they are effective. If you're on the California Delta, that ghost white color does work, but I also like the bluegill color. The last bait I'm going to talk about is a flutter spoon. A flutter spoon is a very effective bait if you're fishing docks, or if you're fishing in water where you know that there's a lot of movement happening, a lot of bait being chased, boils, whatever the case may be. The way that I work a flutter spoon is on a big heavy bait caster, generally 15 to 20 pounds, and I like to fish docks with it a lot. If you don't have graphs, you know there's fish hanging out under docks. Generally, this is going to be a technique for your motherlode lakes or like Shasta, somewhere that's deeper water, a deep water reservoir with aggressive spotted bass that suspend. So this bait, when they see it floating down in the water, penduluming down, it gives a lot of flash, a lot of vibration, and it works extremely well. You fish it just like you would a rattle trap. You jerk it up, work it back down, let it flutter back down, pull it up, let it flutter back down, and a lot of times I let it go all the way down to 40 to 50 foot of water and then start working it up from there. A lot of times that fish is either going to eat it on the initial drop, but you can catch them as you're bringing it back up as well. And there's a lot of fish that are going to be stuck to the bottom. If you let it drop all the way down, they'll get it when they're at the bottom. So these are a couple different baits. If you don't want to utilize your live scope forward facing sonar all day and want to do something different, you leave your graph at home, you forget your battery, not a problem, because you know how to fish effectively without utilizing technology. This is also a very good benefit for anglers that do have live scope as well, because a lot of people get so sucked into throwing a minnow nowadays and seeing that fish to target them that they don't have that well-rounded ability to be able to compete on those shallower bodies of water like the California Delta. They can win every tournament on Lake Shasta or at Don Pedro or Clear Lake, but then when they get to those shallow water fisheries and AOI's on the line, they like to flunk quite a bit because they can't stay in the game. They don't know how to use a Senko. They don't know how to throw a chatterbait. They're not confident in their abilities. So get confident using everything, and then go off of the conditions, utilize what you need. These are just products I like to use. Yamamoto is a staple for me. P-Line's a great product. And then, like I said, go to Phil's Prop next time you're in Ray and get those weedless heads. And if you want another jig that does have more of a weed guard, but you don't want too much, a Kitech jig is great as well. Thank you for tuning in. If you're looking to fish at the college level, listen to that first part of the video over again. Reach out to me. If you don't try, you're never going to get anywhere, and if you don't stay consistent, trying to reach out to these different coaches or programs, whatever they may be, you will be forgotten about. You may not stay in the loop unless you have that high pedigree that people are searching for you. So make yourself a valuable asset, make yourself a better fisherman, and get outside. Thanks for coming to ISE 2026, and this is the Kayak Theater.